You good, Wally? All right. Good. Good evening, board members and residents. I'll call to order the April 22nd, 2024 regular board meeting. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will take the roll. Mr. Batkins? Here. Mr. Brado? Here. Mr. Olgiati is asked to be excused. Mrs. Rose?
Here.
Mr. Tominello?
Here.
Mr. Witt here, and Mr. Verkes is also asked to be excused. Due to Mr. Verkes' excused absence, we need the board to appoint an acting chair for the meeting.
Make a motion to appoint Adam Witt. Support.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Batkins, supported by Mr. Brado, to appoint myself as acting chair for the meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, board. I'm going to be a little slow today because I'm doing our first meeting with our new software that the board approved. So I'm sort of learning it, and also now I get to chair the motion. So moving on to the next agenda item, we have the approval of the consent agenda with the approval of the regular board meeting minutes of April 8th, 2024. Approval of the bills of the amount of $1,130,918.42, and the approval of the March 2024 revenue and expenditure report. I'm not aware of any changes or corrections to anything, so I'd be looking for a motion to approve those as presented.
So moved. Support.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Batkins, supported by Mr. Tominello. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, board. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the regular agenda. Again, I'm not aware of any changes to the agenda, so I'll be looking for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Support.
All right. Motion by Mr. Brado, supported by Mrs. Rose to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the announcements. I don't have any announcements from the supervisor's office, but I do have some announcements regarding our election coming up. This Saturday, the 27th, starting at 8 o'clock, we will begin early voting for our May 7th special election. We have early voting from the 27th through May 5th from 8 until 4 o'clock here in the boardroom. Absentee ballots are still available as well in the clerk's office. And then your polls will be open on May 7th from 7 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. Is there any other announcements?
Yes. I'm going to make an announcement on behalf of the Economic Development Corporation. On June 23rd, it's a Sunday from noon to 2. They're doing a new event called A Taste of Harrison Township. So headed up by the Economic Development, like I said, but the featured restaurants that are confirmed already are Luigi's, Bumpers, Rec Bowl, Terry's Terrace, and they're still soliciting others. You'll buy an armband when you arrive at the senior center, $10 for adults, $5 for children. So again, that's noon to 2 on June 23rd.
Any other board comment?
Yeah, just from the Parks and Rec, May 11th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're having our first annual Parade of Bikes. It will be located at the Metro Parks, Lake St. Clair Metro Parks Pavilion number 3. That's right over by the Par 3 golf course. There's a pavilion there. Check-in begins at 10:30. There will be an obstacle course, a bike parade, some crafts. Macomb County Reserve Bicycle Division will be there. Fitting helmets. We're going to serve hot dogs and refreshments. Just as a reminder that a Metro Pass is required. So, again, that's May 11th from 11 to 1. To pre-register, just go to www.harrisontownshipmi.gov.
Thank you. both sound like fun things to do. And we just had our bike path cleanup that the Beautification Commission sponsored on Saturday, and I saw them out there. I had 7 yards of mulch, so I didn't make it out there. But they were out there in the snow and whatever kind of weather that got thrown at them, and so we appreciate the volunteers that showed up to do that as well. Moving on in the agenda, we have item D1, the adoption of resolution number 3 for the Archer and Lakeshore Canal Sediment and Aquatic Weed Removal Special Assessment District. Board, back before us tonight is resolution number 3 for this project. After, the board may remember, at a previous meeting, this was up for a public hearing. There was much conversation regarding specifically I think a lot of the conversation stemmed around some of the homes that felt like they weren't getting the same value that maybe the homes that were directly abutting that canal were going to receive. So looking at it and working with some people involved with the project, we decided that sort of to reflect what the board had said at that meeting, as well as some of the resident concerns, we'd be pulling out 16 of the properties that abut that east-west canal as opposed to the north-south canal, and pulling them out. The clerk's office did mail them, the individuals who are being removed from the district, letters. We sent them out last week saying that they've been removed, just so they weren't, like, hey, what's going on, what's happening? So those went out. And we did go through and update the cost. We worked with the contractor to get updated pricing information because there'd be less sediment being removed, so what would that pricing look like? We also got new updated pricing information from the contractor that's actually removing the sediment, and because there's less sediment, there's one less bag, so we had to remove one of the lot costs. So we went through and did all that work to try and sort out the price for the project, and it really came in within pennies by the time we pulled those people out to what people had already signed up for. So we feel comfortable that we're within what people signed. It's basically the same scope of work. They'll have that cleaned up behind their house. So tonight we'd be up for board consideration to adopt resolution number 3, which again directs my office to prepare the proposed roll, or more simply, a list of who pays how much. Ultimately, final cost for the project are based on actual construction and any related cost. But we expect it to be about $4,246.71 for the residents. Is there any questions or?
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Mrs. Rose to adopt the resolution. Is there a second?
I'll support it.
Support by Mr. Backens. Any other questions?
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is this going to be bonded? Are we going to bond for this amount? And is that, if we are, is that going to?
There is a placeholder cost for bonding for the project.
Okay.
But we still are moving through with permitting on the project as
Okay.
well, so we sort of thought we have a little bit of time here still.
Okay, so you have a placeholder for?
Yeah, we have a
bond
placeholder cost
costs.
for
Okay,
bond
perfect.
costs
Thank you
and
very
everything,
much.
so we should be okay. Any other questions? Seeing no further board comment, is there any public comment?
Kenneth Mulder, 39488 East Archer. I want to thank the board for bringing this back up after the last meeting turned out to be fairly contentious with some of the residents. Just for your awareness, we had made this public, all the information, the quotes, testing, everything else public. We did not hear the same sentiment prior to the meeting that you heard, even in our own internal public meetings, so it was a little bit of a surprise to us. We had originally intended to dredge not only the Lakeshore Archer Part E Canal, but also the connecting canal between the Lake St. Clair and the Venetian Canal. We have already paid for testing and samples to be taken. In that area, they continued to find 2 to 3 feet of sediment, which is consistent with what they found through the Lakeshore Archer Part E Canal, all the way up into the bridge at Lakeshore. So we had eventually removed just between the bridge on Lakeshore and the lake. But that was the whole reason that we had originally included those homes, is because they continued to find the sediment, and we thought those residents would have a benefit. I did work with Adam after we heard them at the last meeting to remove that. And just for a little history, most information I could find was from a resident that's been there a long time. They told us it's been over 60 years since they ever remember any dredging being done in that canal. Back in about 2010 to 2011, the last time we experienced low water, We were close to doing dredging back then, but as the water level started to rise, we lost support on that. We experienced high water over the last 3 to 4 years. It did cause more erosion, more sediment in the canal, and this time we're trying to be proactive instead of reactive, and we want to get this dredged so we don't have any loss to the boating season. So I again, thank the board for bringing this back up.
Thank you. Seeing no further public comment, we'll move back to the board. Is there anything else? Seeing none, we have a motion to adopt the resolution by Mrs. Rose, supported by Mr. Batkins. Take the roll call. Mrs. Rose?
Yes.
Mr. Batkins?
Yes.
Mr. Rado?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati is excused. Mr. Tominelli?
Yes.
Mr. Witt, yes. Mr. Verkes is excused. Resolution is adopted. Next on the agenda, we have item D2, which is resolution number 4 for the same project. Resolution number 4, which would set our public hearing for, the second public hearing for the May 13th, 2024 board meeting. We'll mail out to residents by first-class mail, as well as publish 2 notices in the paper. This is for reviewing the special assessment roll as it's prepared, and it's for residents' opportunity to speak to the roll as it is prepared. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
I'll make the motion to adopt resolution number 4.
Motion by Mr. Batkins. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Ms. Rose. Any further board discussion? Seeing none, is there any public comment? With no public comment, I will take the roll. Mr. Batkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Rose?
Yes.
Mr. Rado?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati is excused. Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Witt, yes. Mr. Verkes is excused. Thank you, board. Moving on, item E1 is the promotion to engineer. So on April 10th, 2024, firefighter Mac Tomaszewski completed the required training and education components to be promoted to the position of engineer. This promotion is compliant with the terms of the language in the Harrison Township and Local 1737 CBA. So we'd be looking for a motion to promote firefighter Tomaszewski.
So moved. Support.
Motion by Mr. Tominello, supported by Mr. Brado. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing no board comment and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, board. Next up is the DWAM grant equipment purchase. So I'll turn that over to Mr. Murphy, our Public Services Director.
Board, as you guys might remember, not too long ago, you approved the acceptance of the DWAM grant from the state of Michigan, which is drinking water asset management. Part of that grant is going out and mapping all of our assets, which are our water shutoffs, mainline valves, individual residential shutoffs, fire hydrants. We're working in partnership with our engineer, Wade Trim. They've already located some of the assets, and for us to fulfill our location requirements, I'm looking to purchase the equipment. We reached out to Wade Trim. They use this equipment themselves, and for our personnel to sync with them, we're looking to purchase this, and I mean, it'll be something that we could use later on for mapping water main breaks or, you know, any other thing in the township, sewers, water, whatever we need to map electronically, and Wade Trim will be providing a hard copy map.
Are there any questions for Mr. Murphy about the purchase? And I think how much of this the cost comes back to, the grant is for
25% is
of the grant.
reimbursed by the DWAM grant.
Yeah. And so if there's no questions, we're looking for a motion to approve the purchase of the GPS data collector and startup equipment for $5,123.80 with 25% reimbursement through the DWAM grant.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Brado. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Batkins. Any further discussion, board? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, board. Thank you,
board.
Mr. Murphy.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the approval to execute the Metro Act permit extension. Before us is an agreement that extends the existing Metro Act permit to AT&T for 5 years, ending August 31st, 2029. The agreement expires at the end of August of this year. The purpose of the agreement is to allow AT&T access to and the ongoing use of the public right-of-way to use, repair, rearrange, restore, and maintain any existing telephone lines on the terms set forth in the agreement with them. Pursuant to the Metro Act, granting access to AT&T and the township will, because we grant them access, the township receives an annual check representing a per-foot cost on the existing telephone lines within our community. This money that we receive every year. This is a routine thing, similar to how we had individual cable franchise agreements where we would go and agree with telecoms about how much we would charge. With phone lines, a long time ago, they centralized it through the Metro Act, so that way it's a more streamlined process, so they don't have to go and negotiate 13 different things with 13 different communities. So it's really a standard agreement that's not a lot of room to change things, so.
Just for our record, to go on the record as saying that there's no like large towers that are going to be erected or anything because of this agreement, right?
Correct.
Okay.
They still, if they do towers or something like cell tower or something like that, there's still a permitting process where they apply to us and that comes to us for comment and review.
Yeah, I didn't see it in here, but I just wanted to have
Yeah.
it on the record so somebody wouldn't think we approved it today.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'll make that motion to execute the Metro Act permit extension for 5 years, ending in August 31, 2029, to allow AT&T to use our right-of-ways and for the township to continue to receive the per-foot fee per the terms set forth in the agreement and the Metro Act.
Motion by Mrs. Rose, is there support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Batkins. Is there any further board discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, board. Next, we're moving on to the Smart Fiscal Year 2024 Specialized Services Grant, which we have before us tonight. For 2024, we're receiving $10,836, or a $736 increase from the last several years. These funds help offset the cost of our summer shuttle services. In order to receive the funds, the board must approve the signing of the contract, and we would recommend a motion to approve the contract as presented.
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Tominello. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Brado. Any discussion, board? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, board. Moving on, a resolution of support for bottomland conveyance at 36070 Jefferson. EV and MRA LLC is the current owner of the marina located at 36070 Jefferson. The state granted a lease to the marina for bottomland rights over 50 years ago. These rights have expired, but the state will allow the lease to be renewed. One of the requirements is a resolution of support from the local municipality. If you remember, we did one of these about a month ago, and then maybe a year before that for existing marinas within the township. Attaches the written request of for this resolution, along with authorization from the owner, the existing lease documents, and the proposed resolution of conveyance support. We would recommend the board approve this resolution.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution in support of the conveyance bottomlands at 36070 Jefferson.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Bakken, supported by Mrs. Rose, to approve adopt the resolution. Is there any discussion on this board?
I want to correct the address, 36070. I have a tendency to
Don't worry, I
call it a letter, so.
I catch it.
And again, no new construction. This is just, it's already existing. It's just
It's an existing
kind
marina.
of a rubber stamp kind of a deal.
Yes.
Yep.
Hearing no further board comment and seeing no public comment, take a roll call. Mr. Batkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Rose?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati is excused. Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Witt, yes, and Mr. Verkes is excused. The resolution is adopted. Next is the approval of the GASB required reports. So the Government Accounting Standards Board, or GASB, issues statements that we have to comply with in order to satisfy the auditing and reporting standards necessary to achieve a compliance for an unqualified audit opinion. GASB Statements 67 and 68, as well as GASB 74, 75, require reports from our actuary firm that report information regarding our employee and fire pension systems, as well as our other post-employment benefits system, which primarily concerns our retiree health care benefits. Our actuary services provider has provided these reports, and attached are the invoices for these services. We're recommending the payment of these invoices to GRS in the amount of $21,850. This is our actuary. It's not an item that would be cost-effective to bid out because you'd have to give it to a different company, and the pension board actually sets who we use as an actuary, not this board. So we sort of use the firm that they use, so this is the price for that work.
And this is an annual fee, correct?
Correct. And it is one of those things where we could say like, oh, the pension fund has to pay for it. But as soon as we make the pension fund pay for it, they're going to go, well, now the fire fund is $5,650 short and the employee is $5,650 short. So you have to move it from the left pocket to the right pocket. So in the end, these just come as a general fund expense.
I'll make a motion to approve the payment of $21,850 to Gabriel Roeder and Smith for 3 invoices related to compliance with GASB 67, 68, 74, and 75.
Is there support?
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Tominello, supported by Mr. Brado to approve the invoice as presented. Is there any further board discussion on the matter? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, board. Last item on our agenda before we get to public comments is appointments to our Waste Hauler Hardship Committee. Mrs. Pat Carrier and Mr. Robert Long have asked to resign from the Waste Hauler Hardship Committee. Mrs. Carrier has served on the committee since 2013 and Mr. Long since 2016. We are very grateful for their many years of service. We have received applications from Mr. William Batanti, our former board trustee, as well as Mrs. Diane Nelson, who's a current library board member. Both of them have expressed a willingness to serve on the committee. So we're recommending the appointment of Mrs. Diane Nelson and Mr. William Batanti to the Waste Hauler Hardship Committee for a 2-year term to expire April 22nd, 2026.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Rose to make the appointment, supported by Mr. Brado. Any further discussion on this?
I think we have a meeting coming up.
We do have a meeting come up, and that's the need to get the appointments done. And I believe the supervisor already confirmed the individual's availability in the event they were
Okay.
appointed, so this is something that we do. We have one meeting a year annually where we have individuals who apply for due to a financial hardship, where they can get some of the cost of their trash taken off their bill, so.
So it's a once-a-year meeting?
Yeah, it's a low commitment, but it's important for
Well,
those
sure.
people that need that
Yeah,
help.
and consistency.
Yep. Seeing no other board comment and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, board. On to public comment. So we'll open the podium for public comment.
Evening, board members. Mike Barnhart, 38995 Lakeshore. Want to thank you guys for tonight for doing the dredging. Need to be done. We fixed what we needed to get done. So I appreciate that. And secondly, topic, Mac, the guy you promoted engineer, was the last guy I trained before I retired. He's a good young man. I'm so proud of him. Makes me happy. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
C. William Bardell, 27-year resident, clean cut, do-gooder boy next door. Clean up, fix up, people helping people. Blue Dog Democrat. I would like to just remind everyone to please check out Save Lake St. Clair on Facebook and follow it and stay up to date on everything that's going on. And again, hopefully one day our lake will be perfect. And we'll all go about our business. Thank you so much. Enjoy your evening.
Seeing no further public comment, is there any board comments?
Yeah, I wanted to bring up the discussion, at least get it started. What would we need to do in order to get a marquee by the McDonald's there, instead of all the signs that we have for the EDC and Parks and Rec? I mean, I'm on those committees that are guilty of it. That's the only way we have to get the word out. So I don't know what we need to do about getting this discussion started, but I thought I'd bring it up today. Anybody?
I mean, it's really the same as anything else we do. It's a purchase. Someone would have to go and,
Do the
either
research.
do a bid packet where we go out and solicit bids or solicit quotes directly based on, something and bring something to this board for consideration. I think we've all, expressed, at least, yes, we're open to the idea. I think it always comes down to like how much and who pays, right?
Right.
And
So-
cost of maintaining it, if there's any like long-term maintenance or.
So if I reached out to a couple other communities and just kind of brought back some initial stuff, then you guys prepare something that sends out a quote to, like, you said bid package?
Yeah, I mean, if the board said like, hey, we want you guys to go and get pricing, if there was that general consensus, we can do that. I mean, not me right now, but
Well, yeah.
maybe the supervisor's office, I can happily volunteer him since he's not here, but,
Yes.
yeah, right. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll see what I can do.
all right. Any further board discussion? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Support.
Motion by Mr. Backen, supported by Mr. Brado to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.